As the video opens, the narrator explains how everything began with a wave of cryptic posts coming from Lena Waithe, Cynthia Erivo's partner. The narrator describes how Lena's quiet online behavior suddenly shifted, catching the attention of fans who were already side-eyeing the oddly intense connection between Ariana Grande and Cynthia. When Lena posted a seemingly random screenshot from an interview featuring Ariana and Paul, with Ariana calling their behavior insufferable, the timing felt too deliberate to ignore. The narrator emphasizes how viewers immediately started speculating that this wasn't just harmless online noise, but rather Lena subtly expressing irritation toward Ariana. Each post Lena shared, especially the ones featuring Ariana's image or oddly emotional quotes, felt like another breadcrumb leading fans to believe there was tension simmering behind the scenes. Instead of speaking out directly, Lena's approach was quiet, symbolic, and perfectly ambiguous, the kind of online behavior that makes people lean in, analyze, and assume the worst. The narrator points out how this unusual digital trail quickly triggered larger conversations, pulling the audience into a story that seemed to unfold more through hints than words. The narrator moves into a breakdown of how fans first noticed something strange during the Wicked press tour. What was supposed to be a celebration of the film quickly turned into a spectacle of odd, intimate moments between Ariana and Cynthia. The narrator highlights how their interactions weren't just friendly. They felt intensely emotional, overly touchy, and at times almost uncomfortable to watch. Each interview clip showed them leaning into each other, finishing each other's sentences, and exchanging long, lingering glances that went beyond typical co-star chemistry. The energy became even stranger when one interview went viral for its awkward pauses and repetitive affirmations, where both kept whispering, and yeah, in a way that viewers described as almost hypnotic. The narrator recalls the moment when Ariana was grabbed by a fan and Cynthia immediately rushed to comfort her, repeating, "Are you okay?" over and over, like she was consoling a partner, not a colleague. These patterns didn't feel casual. They looked like two people wrapped in their own emotional bubble, unaware of how odd it appeared to everyone watching. And the narrator makes it clear that this was the moment when fans started feeling that something deeper and potentially messy was unfolding. The narrator begins explaining why Lena's reactions didn't come out of nowhere. They point out Ariana Grande's long history of intense, fast-moving relationships and the pattern fans have noticed. She often grows extremely close to people who are already committed. The narrator alludes to the widely discussed situation with Ethan Slater, a married father at the time Ariana allegedly began getting close to him during Wicked filming. That, combined with Ariana's past whirlwind relationship with Pete Davidson, made people feel like this wasn't just a coincidence, it was a repeated behavior. The narrator describes how fans began to piece together the idea that Ariana gravitates toward emotionally vulnerable situations, intentionally or not, creating tension in established relationships. So when Ariana began forming an oddly intense bond with Cynthia, the narrator notes that it didn't take long for people online to suspect that Lena's growing discomfort wasn't insecurity, it was pattern recognition. The connections lined up so neatly that viewers couldn't help wondering whether Lena was reacting to something she'd seen before, something she recognized from Ariana's past behavior. And with each new affectionate moment between Ariana and Cynthia, the narrator explains that Lena's concerns seemed increasingly justified in the eyes of the public. The narrator then shifts to the detail that truly escalated fan suspicion: the matching tattoos. It wasn't just that Ariana and Cynthia got inked, it was how meaningful Ariana's message was afterward. The narrator describes the emotional post where Ariana wrote about never forgetting their time together, calling Cynthia one of the fiercest talents on earth and an even fiercer friend. To viewers, this wasn't a casual message. The narrator highlights the pattern Ariana is known for. She often gets tattoos with partners or people she develops deep romantic attachments to. Examples from her past relationships, Pete Davidson, Mac Miller, and others, come up as reminders that tattoos have always been symbolic milestones for her. So when Ariana and Cynthia appeared with coordinated ink, fans immediately questioned whether this was a sign of something more than friendship. The narrator explains that even the tone of Ariana's message felt intimate in a way that blurred lines,
especially considering how physical and affectionate the two had already been during the press tour. To the audience, this wasn't just bonding. It was an emotional escalation, one that seemed to validate Lena's quiet discomfort and make the situation feel far more personal.
Now, the narrator brings the story full circle, explaining why Lena's tension might be rooted in her own past. They recount how Lena and Cynthia first met at the Met Gala in 2018 and immediately formed a strong connection, one that fans felt seemed unusually close for two people who had just met. The narrator explains how Cynthia posted about Lena, calling her sis, and how the two were suddenly inseparable at events, red carpets, and industry gatherings. But here's the twist the narrator reveals. At that time, Lena was still married to Alana Mayo. The overlap between Lena's growing closeness with Cynthia and the sudden collapse of her marriage made people speculate that the relationship might have begun before the breakup was officially announced. The narrator points out that this history created a lingering narrative, one built on whispers that Cynthia and Lena may have crossed lines during their early friendship. Because of this, the audience is told that some fans believe Lena fears that what happened once could happen again, only this time she would be the partner getting left behind. The narrator frames it as a complicated mix of insecurity, memory, and karma, making Lena's reactions feel more layered than simple jealousy.
The narrator then dives into one of the boldest claims circulating online, the rumor that Ariana might be on the DL, a topic that has lingered for years. They explain how whispers about Ariana's attraction to women resurfaced once her closeness with Cynthia became impossible to ignore. The narrator mentions how some online communities referenced comments from Victoria Monet and old industry stories, each one adding fuel to a rumor that had never fully disappeared. They describe how fans interpreted Lena's cryptic posts as warnings, implying that Lena might be preparing to expose Ariana if things escalated further. Meanwhile, the narrator highlights Ariana's sudden attempt to justify her touchy behavior in interviews, claiming she channels energy through her hands. The explanation didn't convince viewers. It only intensified the theory that Ariana was scrambling to control the narrative. According to the narrator, this back-and-forth tension created an atmosphere of secrecy, speculation, and emotional pressure, leaving fans feeling like something is boiling beneath the surface. And every new interaction between Ariana and Cynthia made the rumor feel less like gossip and more like a piece of a much larger puzzle.
Finally, the narrator brings all the threads together, painting a picture of a situation reaching its breaking point. They describe how every element, Lena's cryptic posts, Ariana and Cynthia's heightened intimacy, the matching tattoos, the emotional public messages, and the online speculation stacked on top of each other like a growing storm. The narrator points out how fans began predicting that something major was about to give, whether it was Lena confronting Ariana publicly, Cynthia addressing the rumors, or Ariana making a bold move to silence the speculation. The tension didn't feel subtle anymore. It felt explosive. The narrator expresses how viewers sensed that each person involved had something to lose. Lena, her relationship, Cynthia, her public image, and Ariana, her reputation, which had already taken hits from past romantic controversies. The audience is left feeling that the entire situation is unpredictable and volatile. And the narrator emphasizes how this unpredictability kept viewers glued to every update, every new interview clip, every social media post. It wasn't just celebrity gossip, it became a full-blown, unfolding drama.